Some stories don't begin with love. They begin with survival. Mine begins in Lilongwe, Malawi, with a woman who learned early that strength was not optional. At 34 years old, I had already lived many lives: lover, mother, provider, survivor, and healer. My name is Ruth Banda, and this is not a story about being rescued by a man. It is a story about learning how to let love meet strength without erasing it. For a long time, I believed that responsibility meant carrying everything alone. I believed that asking for help was weakness and independence was safety. Life had taught me that lesson well, sometimes gently, sometimes painfully. That as I would later learn, love has a way of challenging the rules we make to protect ourselves. This is the story of how I loved, lost, healed, feared again, and finally learned that a happy ending does not mean losing yourself. It means being seen. I am a single mother to an 8-year-old child named Tadala. And from the day Tadala was born, I made a silent promise: no matter what happens, this child will never lack. I rent my own apartment, I work hard, and I manage my home with discipline and pride. I do not wait for anyone to save me. Life never gave me that luxury. I have never been the kind of woman who asks a man for money or support. Not because I look down on help, but because I learned early to rely on myself. I believe deeply in my capability. If something needs to be done, I do it. If bills must be paid, I pay them. If my child needs something, I provide it. Over time, this independence became part of my identity. People praised me for it. They called me strong, and I accepted that title even when it grew heavy. But strength has its quiet cost. Before I met the man I am with today, there was Patrick Zulu, my child's father, now 40 years old. Patrick understood me in ways few people did. Without me asking, he would step in. He noticed needs before they became problems. He made me feel cared for, not because I demanded it, but because he chose it. For a long time, I thought that meant safety. We lived in different regions of Malawi, and despite the distance, we made plans, serious plans. Traditional wedding plans, family involvement, a future. When the time came, I traveled to Mzizu, believing I was walking toward commitment. Instead, I walked into betrayal. I found his ex-girlfriend living with him. She had been there for over a month. The explanation was that she had come to follow up on work in the same town. But explanations cannot undo what your eyes see, or what your heart feels when trust collapses. A lot happened during that time: arguments, tears, confusion, and silence. But the clearest moment was the one where I chose myself. I walked away, not because it was easy, but because staying would have broken me completely. That decision saved my dignity, but it shattered my heart. After Patrick, I disappeared from love. Not physically, but emotionally. I spent 4 years alone. Not dating. Not entertaining talking stages. Not explaining myself to men who were curious but careless. I focused on my child, on my work, on rebuilding what betrayal had taken from me. Those years were quiet, but they were not empty. I learned to sit with my pain instead of running from it. I learned that being selective is not pride, it is wisdom. I learned that healing does not have a deadline. Most importantly, I learned that I did not want just any love. I wanted a love that felt safe. A love that respected my past and did not compete with it. When I finally felt ready, I told myself one thing: if love comes again, it must meet me where I am. That is when Michael Firi entered my life. Michael is 38 years old, from Blantyre, calm in nature, thoughtful in speech, and very different from me in some ways. We started dating slowly. No rushing, no pressure, just time and observation. But as time went on, I noticed something that unsettled me. Michael was the kind of man who waited to be asked before he gave. If you needed help, you had to say it clearly. If you wanted something, you had to request it. This was not selfishness. It was simply how he was wired. And I was the opposite. I believed a responsible man notices. That love pays attention. That care should not always be requested. In my heart, I feared that a man who waits to be asked might also wait to be responsible. That fear began to grow quietly. I did not need Michael to take care of my child. I was already doing that. I did not need him to pay my rent or solve my problems. I had survived too much to need rescuing. But I wanted something else. I wanted to feel held. I wanted to feel considered. I wanted to rest sometimes, without explaining why. Yet, I didn't know how to ask for that, without feeling like I was betraying my identity as a strong woman. I feared that if I asked, I would appear needy. And if I stayed silent, I might end up resentful. So I stood at a crossroads familiar to many women like me. Do I speak and risk disappointment, or stay quiet and carry the weight alone? One day I chose honesty. Not accusation. Not demand. Honesty. I sat Michael down and told him my story. Not to gain sympathy, but to give context. I explained that I don't ask for help easily. Not because I don't need it, but because life trained me to survive alone. I told him that being cared for matters to me, even if I don't always know how to request it. I told him I wasn't asking him to change who he was, but I needed to know if he was willing to understand who I am. Then I waited. Michael did something I did not expect. He listened. He didn't defend himself. He didn't dismiss my feelings. He didn't disappear. Instead, he asked questions. He reflected. He learned. Slowly, his actions changed, not dramatically, not forcefully, but intentionally. He began to notice, to check in, to offer support without being asked. And I too learned something important. Communication did not make me weak. It made the relationship possible. We met each other halfway. Today, I am still Ruth Banda, still independent, still hardworking, still a devoted mother. But I am no longer afraid to want care. I am no longer ashamed of softness. I am with a man who chooses responsibility, not because he is forced to, but because he understands me. A man who does not compete with my strength, but complements it. My story taught me this. A happy ending does not mean forgetting the past. It means using it wisely. And sometimes, love doesn't come to replace your strength. It comes to remind you that you don't always have to carry everything alone. That is my story. And this time, it ends with peace.